Now, this is 10 Sports.
Happy holidays, everyone. I am Evan Closky alongside David Schiele. With 2026 coming down the chute, we're going to take a look back at the most important sports stories this year had to offer.
It was an exciting year in Tampa Bay, and for our first story, we go all the way back to January to revisit a moment that will be remembered by every Buccaneers fan forever.
1,000 yards.
Ooh, I have the goosebumps thinking back to that day inside a Raymond James Stadium with a playoff berth on the line and the game in hand. The Bucs decide to throw the rock to Mike Evans and risk all of that to make sure he tied Jerry Rice's record for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Mission accomplished, and the celebration was unbelievable. That record didn't just mean a lot to Mike, but it meant a lot to this community and fan base. The sad part of this story comes more recently during the following season when he did not only injure his hamstring, but then he broke his collarbone, had a concussion, effectively ending his chances of breaking the record. Mike has made his way back to the football field for another playoff run, but certainly he has solidified that gold jacket in Canton one day.
As for the Tampa Bay Rays, man, they took up a lot of real estate with headlines this season. First, let's talk about something we will likely never see again. The Rays played a full season of baseball outdoors in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field. While we all fell in love with the experience at the start of the season, as expected, the summer heat was brutal for game days. Considering what happened to Tropicana Field, we were just thankful they could stay in the area. So while the team moves back inside Tropicana Field, Stu Sternberg will not. This was the final send-off from Stu near the end of the season when he pulled out of the $1.3 billion stadium deal in St. Pete. Major League Baseball flexed its muscles and nudged Stu to sell the team in hopes of finding a solution. That's where Patrick Zalupski comes in. The sale of the team was completed in October, and before fans start thinking he's going to spend all this money on payroll, that ain't going to happen without a new home. If you've ever been to the Battery in Atlanta, like I have, that's the inspiration, preferably in Tampa. The goal is to have this ballpark ready to go by 2029, which is right after the contract runs out at the Trop.
We've got to deliver this world-class development to generate the revenue to produce a consistent championship caliber team. We don't want to be 1 year great and 5 years bad and have to go all in. And it's not. We want to build a sustainable championship team, and I think the revenue generation that can come out of this development will provide that.
Zalupski said the economics of this team will not change. The Rays dealt with a lot of turmoil on and off the field. They finished with a 77-win season, ignoring 2020 because of the pandemic. That's the fewest amount of victories since 2016, Evan.
As for the Bolts, for the second consecutive season and the third time in his career, Nikita Kucherov won the Art Ross Trophy, which is awarded to the individual with the most points in the league. On top of the Art Ross, Kuch also won the Ted Lindsay Award, which is essentially the MVP, voted on by the NHL Players Association. But the best moment, and you're seeing it right now, was Kucherov hitting 1,000 points for his career and the team coming off the bench to congratulate him. And you know what? Brandon Hagel is starting to get some whispers into those conversations as well. Not only did he log 90 points last season, but he made a name for himself fighting Matthew Tkachuk of the Panthers in the Four Nations tournament. Team Canada featuring Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, Braden Point, John Cooper, and Julien Brisebois all won the gold.
But the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup for a second consecutive season, and in the first round of the playoffs, Brandon Hagel was a marked man after injuring Alexander Barkov. It led to Aaron Ekblad taking a cheap shot to his face and concussing him for the rest of the postseason. When the two teams met up in the preseason, the shenanigans began once again, and it turned into a Royal Rumble on the ice.
Yeah, this all went a step too far. A game in Tampa totaled 186 penalty minutes. Then the very next game in Sunrise, we saw 322 penalty minutes. J.J. Moser was suspended. John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning were fined by the league for saying they incited the whole thing. All of this stemmed from the Panthers continually going after Hagel. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on if these two meet again in the playoffs. We're already seeing it right now.
Yeah, and we just need to keep things above the belt here. Rivalries, they're great for the sport, but that was just too much, even for a physical sport like hockey. So let's go from one champion in the Sunshine State to another. The Florida Gators basketball team won its third national title and first in 18 years. After being down double digits in the second half, they came roaring back to beat Houston in a nail-biter 65-63. It was a wild scene in San Antonio and back home as well during the celebration. The team even had a chance to go to the White House and meet the president.
Mr. President, I like to think of our program similarly to how you think of the United States. We're a meritocracy. All right, we work really, really hard no matter what you look like or where you come from. If you put the team first and win, we're going to play you. And we have a program full of that, guys that have great attitudes, great work ethics, most importantly, want to be at the University of Florida.
3 Gators from that team were drafted. We give a special shout out to Bartow High School product Walter Clayton Jr., who was selected 18th overall by the Utah Jazz. He was also a first-team All-American and named the Final Four Most Outstanding Player.
Life wasn't too fun in the fall for Florida fans, David. Totally different story in Tampa with USF. For the first time ever, the Bulls went into the swamp and upset a then 13th ranked Gator squad 18-16. They started the season with back-to-back wins against top 25 squads. Alex Golish put this group in the national spotlight quickly.
I'm just so happy for our kids, man. Like I'm so happy for our players, the ones that bought in. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to reap the benefit of that.
So many positives came out of this season, David. Back in the AP poll, for the first time ever, they were in the college football playoff rankings. They were even in the driver's seat to go to the big dance, but losses against Memphis and Navy sunk them, pun intended.
Yeah, and look, we'll have more on the state of USF football later in the show, but this was the most successful season since 2017 with 9 victories. And we want to spotlight a couple of other championships that happened in our area. First, let's give a shout out to a team that gave us another boat parade. The Sun celebrated their first USL Super League title in true Tampa Bay style. This club completed arguably the best inaugural season in Tampa Bay sports history. They went 10-2 at home and went undefeated in the final month of the season. Also, Joe Urso continues to add to his incredible resume as manager at UTampa with the Spartans, capturing their 10th national title this year. They also won a program record 55 games.
The Spartans were not the only ones hammering away at the plate this year. Junior Caminero had a breakout season with the Rays, leading the club with 45 homers. He also became just the 4th player in Tampa Bay history to take part in the Home Run Derby in July. Caminero put on a show for the fans in Atlanta, earning his way to the finals, but La Maxima ran into the big dumper. Cal Raleigh out of Florida State in the final round, losing by 3. Tough to see Junior lose, but he became more of a household name that night. Maybe one day Caminero gets a ballpark statue next to Evan Longoria. Longoria signed a 1-day contract to retire from baseball as a Ray in June. He helped Tampa Bay make its first 4 playoff appearances, starting with the World Series run in 2008. He was a 3-time All-Star with the Rays and holds 11 franchise records, including most games played and most home runs. Being able to ceremoniously end his career in Tampa Bay just felt right. Longoria was also inducted into the Sports Club of Tampa Bay Hall of Fame this year alongside John Cooper and Dick Vitale. Vitale told the crowd at the ceremony that this was his 15th Hall of Fame induction. He continues to be a positive light in our community, along with John Cooper, who was rocking that Stanley Cup championship ring. Rob Higgins, Dave Mishkin, Dominic Sayo, Terry Rupp, and Tony Dungy's Lifetime Achievement Award rounded out a fantastic night of celebration, which was a way for both the community and inductee to say thank you.
You know, to be recognized in kind of the greater Tampa area, makes it very special. So it's pretty cool. I feel like the little kid in the room, which is a cool feeling to have again.
Really see it as an overall team recognition, and we're just so fortunate to have the people we do that pour everything they have into trying to make sure we get the greatest events for our hometown.
Yeah, that was Rob Higgins we just heard from, and one of those great events Higgins was talking about happened inside the arena now known as Benchmark International in April. The women's Final Four came through Tampa for a record 4th time. UConn was the final team standing, beating South Carolina in the national championship game. This event was a biggie too, the Savannah Bananas at Ray J. This was the first time banana ball was played inside an NFL stadium, and it almost did not happen. The traveling baseball act was supposed to play inside Tropicana Field, but the damage from Hurricane Milton put the Bananas' appearance in jeopardy. Props goes to the Tampa Bay Sports Commission for coming up with the solution, which worked out for everybody. The event at Ray J was sold out. I was there, and it was a ton of fun. As for a more normal occurrence inside Ray J, the Bucs inducted Simeon Rice into the Ring of Honor on November 30th. He is the 16th person to earn the recognition. His name will sit alongside his head coach, John Gruden, forever. Gruden was also on hand to give Simeon his new Ring of Honor jacket.
This area experienced a lot of change in 2025. In 2 minutes, the familiar faces that said goodbye to Tampa Bay and the newcomers hoping to add championships to the local trophy case. Welcome back to our 2025 Tampa Bay Sports in Review. I'm Evan Closky alongside David Schiele. There were many changes to prominent positions this year, most of them happening down the road at USF.
Oh, the biggest change for the Bulls happened in June when VP for Athletics Michael Kelly accepted a similar position with the Naval Academy.
The university decided not to fill Kelly's vacant position, but create a new one titled CEO of Athletics to reflect a new era in college sports and a new vision for USF. Sports Club and Tampa Bay Hall of Famer Rob Higgins took the job in September.
If you talk to any athletic director in the country, they would say their role 10 years ago is vastly different than what it was 5 years ago and is now vastly different than what it was 5 days ago. And so really it is putting the right title on what the position is and empowering it to be really successful.
It wasn't long before Higgins had to make his first big hire as CEO. Head football coach Alex Golesh left Tampa for the Plains in late November. Becoming the Auburn Tigers' new head coach, Golesh inherited a 1-11 Bulls program 3 years ago, won 23 games, and secured a bowl bid in each season. Those are big shoes to fill, but Higgins believes he's got the right guy for the job, David.
Yeah, Evan, USF brought in another Ohio State grad to lead the football program, hiring Brian Hartline earlier this month. The Ohio State offensive coordinator is viewed by many as the best recruiter in college football. He's also quite the teacher, developing guys like Buccaneers wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson, just to name a handful. He is ready to lead the Bulls into a new era.
I mean, the trajectory that we are on, the vision with Rob, the known good players that I've played with, I have a lot of respect for where we currently are and where we want to go. And I think that that was a huge part for me and my family. And yeah, frankly, I'm really, really excited.
Hartline is not the only new head coach named Brian on campus. Brian Hodgson took over the men's basketball program in March following 2 successful years at Arkansas State. Hodgson chose USF over multiple schools that offered him a spot as he believes the Bulls are on the cusp of becoming a household name in college basketball. The women's basketball program also had a coaching change, but this one happened much closer to the start of the season. Just 11 days before tip-off of the first game, head coach Jose Fernandez left USF to take a head coaching job in the WNBA with the Dallas Wings. Fernandez spent 25 seasons with the Bulls. He won 485 games, 4 conference championships, and earned 10 NCAA tournament appearances, 8 of which came in the last 11 years. Michelle Woods-Baxter, who is in her 18th season with USF, is serving as interim head coach. And now, although Fernandez's exit was near the start of the season, it did not leave USF as hot and bothered as the Buccaneers were when offensive coordinator Liam Cohen jilted them at the altar to become the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This situation was nuts. At one point, Cohen pulled himself from the Jags coaching search, and he was set to sign a lucrative contract extension with Tampa Bay. But pen would never hit paper. The Bucs could not get a hold of Cohen or his agent. And that's because Cohen had snuck back to Jacksonville for a second interview with the Jaguars. Later that night, he agreed to terms to become their new head coach. The Jaguars' job is Cohen's 6th stop in his last 6 years, and he became a meme in his introductory press conference.
Jacksonville, the community, Duval.
I can watch that so many times. The Bucs had one of the best offensive seasons in 2024 under Cohen, so continuity was crucial going into the season. That led to the hiring of Josh Grizzard.
And Grizz oversaw the team's third down offense, which ranked first in the NFL last year with the best conversion rate in franchise history. However, for multiple reasons, the Bucs have not been able to put up similar numbers this season, which has been disappointing for the fans in Tampa Bay. Fans in Gainesville were disappointed in their football team as well. After an 8-win season in 2024, the Gators started the 2025 campaign 3-4, leading to the firing of Billy Napier on October 19th. Florida never came close to competing for the SEC championship under Napier. Their only postseason victory came in last year's Gasparilla Bowl. Florida went 22-23 in the Napier era. That includes a 12-16 record in conference play. Florida hired John Summerall as its new head coach on November 30th. He brings a record of success to the Swamp, winning conference championships in 3 of his 4 years as a head coach. That includes winning the American Conference title with Tulane this year. At 43 years old, he currently has the 5th highest winning percentage among active coaches, and he does not lack confidence.
The standard here is championships. That's why I came. I'm built for this job. I was made for this job. Winners win. I'm a winner. We're going to win.
The Rowdies also hired a head coach with a winning resume, bringing in Dominic Casiato. Now I can say it, David almost said it before. In the middle of the season after firing Robbie Nielsen in April, the Rowdies improved under Casiato but missed the playoffs for the first time since 2018.
There were some amazing stories all throughout the Tampa Bay area this year. Evan and I discuss our favorite ones in 2 minutes.
David and I have told you all about the biggest moments from the year. But we want to allow some time to dig a bit deeper into some of the storylines that stick with us the most.
And Evan, I don't know if we'll get a crazier year from the Tampa Bay Rays in franchise history.
Yeah, the year started out firmly with Stu Sternberg as owner of the team, and then in 9 months he was gone. Here are my thoughts on Stu Sternberg. Well, I think his time is going to do, or I think time in general is going to do him well in terms of looking back at the history of the team. It's very clear he was not the right man at the top anymore. Once he turned down that deal in St. Pete, it was clear he was never building a stadium here. From a baseball perspective, he turned his franchise into a winner. From a PR perspective, the fans never felt like he was looking out for their best interests. On one hand, can this team still do more with less without Stu at the helm? We're going to find out. On the other hand, to keep the Rays in Tampa Bay, there needed to be a new owner, so it was a necessary part of the process here.
Something that stood out to me, truly, was Mike Evans getting 1,000 yards on the final play of the 2024 regular season. The Bucs had already won the game. They were going to win that game, so they did not have to pass the ball. But that's only if you're looking through a buttoned-up sportsmanship football lens. For those that watch football in red and pewter glasses, the Bucs definitely had to pass the ball, and it was absolutely the right call to give the future Hall of Famer his 11th 1,000-yard season. Mike Evans coming to Tampa Bay was one of the best things to happen to this area on and off the football field. What he does in the community is just as elite as his ability to get open and make contested catches. So seeing him get rewarded on that play, top 5 moment in Raymond James Stadium history, and it was against the Saints. The Bucs don't like him anyway, so it was totally worth it.
As for something else I want to talk about is what we heard from Todd Bowles at the podium not too long ago after that incredible collapse on Thursday Night Football.
It's inexcusable. You don't make excuses. You got to care enough where it hurts. You got to care enough where the hurts. It got to mean something to you. It's more than a job. It's your livelihood. How well do you know your job? How well can you do your job? Well, you can't sugarcoat that. It was inexcusable, and there's no answer for it. There's no excuse for it.
Oh, man, that was a grade A crash out. We don't know how the season is going to end up for the Buccaneers, but that moment is, man, it encapsulates a lot of frustration fans have had since the bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a truck backing up. No, that was just Todd Bowles cursing. So that's how angry he was that night. Coming up, we're turning the page to 2026 and looking ahead at some of the biggest events on the sports calendar for Tampa Bay.
2025 was a great year, but it's time to turn the page to 2026. We have a slew of really cool events on the Tampa Bay Sports calendar, and that goes beyond the usual suspects like the Valspar Championship, the Pelican, the St. Pete Grand Prix, just to name a few.
One of the coolest in more ways than one is the first ever hockey game inside Raymond James Stadium.
The Lightning will take on the Boston Bruins in the Stadium Series contest on February 1st. This will be just the second outdoor game in Lightning history. The first was a few years ago in Nashville. The plan is for the NHL is to build a climate-controlled structure at Ray J for a couple of weeks leading up to the game. Our city has waited a long time for this contest. Gasparilla weekend. It is going to be nuts, David.
Yeah, it is going to be crazy. Please be responsible that weekend, guys. A few months after that outdoor hockey game, the Rays will play their first game back indoors at Tropicana Field on April 6th against the Cubs. The Rays play the 2025 season at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, and by the end of that season, they were more than ready to return to their true home in St. Pete. And maybe we get a new stadium announcement in the New Year's as well. That'd be cool.
You know, I would love the shovel more than the announcement.
Yeah, for sure. As for the Bucks, they will play a game in the early days of 2026, hosting the Carolina Panthers on January 4th. It may be the only game Tampa Bay plays in January. A playoff berth could be on the line as we are set up for another dramatic finish in the funky NFC South. If the Buccaneers win the South, that would be their 5th straight title. That would be a record in this division.
We also want to mention that the 2026 Winter Olympic Games will take place this February in Northern Italy. Hopefully the ice rink is ready by then. Crazy stuff going on with that. Also, the FIFA World Cup is set for the summer. It will be co-hosted by all 3 countries in North America, with the final taking place July 19th at MetLife Stadium in New York. Or New Jersey, technically, but yeah, whatever.
Technically. And look, we really want another boat parade here in Tampa. I'll say that.
I'm gonna have a bold prediction here. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to find their way back in the Stanley Cup final. Now, they'll likely have to go through the Florida Panthers, and I might eat my words, but I think we could be in for a fun ride next year. This team looks really good.
They do look really good. Now, my prediction is for Jason Light. Let's say he uses all of his draft assets. I think that happens. He's going to select defensive players because these boys need it bad.
Yeah, you ain't kidding about that. Thank you so much for joining us on this special 10 Tampa Bay Sports Show. We appreciate your viewership throughout the year. I also appreciate my guy here rocking with me from start to finish. Do it again in 2026. We'll see you soon.